G'day captains, and welcome to my lovely tutorial refresher course for you all in the World of Warships community. Happy 10 years first and foremost, as the game has evolved a lot over a long period of time. Now for those who are brand new players as well as returning players or current players, this tutorial guide is meant for you. This is a bit of a refresher course for all of us here in the game and franchise, but I just want to start off with the basics and help you do a quick refresher course purely designed on stuff that you probably did know or didn't know, and you can show it to your friends in the future. Anyways, this is basically when you log onto the game for the first time. Now, the UI is pretty basic. Okay, so pretty much you got, your ships down the bottom, you got your captains on the side here, as well as your missions and other events and things like that, news articles, and of course at the top over here, there's obviously your in-game currency, the game types, and also like the ship equipment, exterior, tech tree, profile, as well as the clan that you're in, and obviously your profile and the dock you can choose from, and also the in-game settings. Now you're in a situation when you first play the game and you're wondering like, well, I actually don't like the way the look of the ships are in the bottom row. There's an option to have a bit of a filtering system. So on this bottom left hand corner here, there's a little like a device that you can click on, and it's actually called filters. Now the filters are designed purely to help you in what you want to do. So basically you can actually compact the carousel view to at least a maximum up to 4. Now depending on your screen resolution that you have at home, you probably need to tweak it to whatever suits you. Now I'm going to show you and demonstrate what they look like at 2 and 3 and also 4. So that's actually pretty straightforward and standard right there. Now, there's a lot of things you can do with the filtering system. You can actually change it to tier 1, tier 3, 4, and so on and so forth, and then all the way up to tier super. Now, they have a good variety of choices of class types that you can filter down as well, from submarines to destroyers to cruisers to battleships and aircraft carriers. Over the years, the game has grown so much that you have a whole heap of different nations to play. So for example, that if you want to narrow down what the French ships you got at the moment in your port, you can go there, or the Americans, Russians, or the Germans, and so on and so forth. Over here in the middle here in the section here, it's got special stuff. Now for example, that if you got any primary ships, you can actually set it up as the primary ships down the bottom here, which I'll show you in a moment, as well as any elite status warships. You can check that out, as well as other special ships, premium vessels, rented warships, ships with XP that you can pretty much acquire and get it done. Anything with ships with commanders or without commanders, and on top of it, every time now and then, in terms of every year in the World of Warships community, depends on what time of year we're doing it, there'll be like special rewards, like for example the festive rewards we got right now, the 10-year anniversary event, or the snowflakes in terms of Christmas and so forth. Here on the other hand, this is a bit of a brand new thing. It's called Rarity system. Now basically that it's shown between common ships, which is basically your tech tree warships. Uncommon ships is basically premium vessels. Rare ships are basically a mixture of premium vessels / rare warships that you can't really get in the game. For example, like the high school fleet, the Aprigo event, things like that. The epic warships on the other hand, these are considered to be the very rarest, the rare warships in the game that you can only get through like Christmas containers like the Santa event or Black Friday. However, there's a thing called legendary ships. Legendary ships are basically implied if you are a super tester or a CC or an alpha beta tester, you'll be legitimately have some great warships to play with as well too. So that is actually pretty cool. Now you also can hide unsuitable warships as well, which is pretty nice, and it is actually pretty decent all around. Now if you want to, say for example, set a primary warship, you can actually right click on the ship you want and then you click primary, and then basically in terms of the primary ship, now what you do is you click on here, go to primary, and there's the Montana. Now if you want to change that back, you know, from the primary status, you just right click on it and then go remove primary ships. That's it, pretty much. Now if you're wondering about the docks in the game itself, do I really want to use like the default dock and that I log into each event? Fair enough. Sometimes that depends on your machine at home, so, or more of a personal choice. Now you can have the option to click on the dock on the top of here and then basically check which port you would like to have in here. So go ahead, have a look what's available to you, and then you can select it. So basically, say for example I want the designer's table, I select it, click save, and there you go. Basically there she is. It's all been, you know, recustomized. You can actually zoom out, zoom around. Now if you're wondering about that, what just happened there, I do have a mod from Aslain Mods that you can actually zoom out a lot further in terms of the actual dock itself, which is pretty cool. But I'll let you check that out at your own time and leisure as we discuss that a little bit further. Now let's go ahead and talk about the armory. So in the armory itself in the game, it's like pretty much the heart and soul of everything what we do. So pretty much when you log on to the armory, you're pretty much greeted with the featured, whatever's available that shows and tells you what is happening right now in terms of this week or this month's event with everything being going on. On the top right hand corner here, you have your in-game currency that you got available for you. Now if you want to check out other resources you got available for you, you can left click on that wallet right there, and that will actually show you exactly what you got for other tokens or any other currency that's available in the game. For example, Research Bureau, which is research points, community tokens, free XP, commander XP, steel, coal, doubloons, and credits. Now credits is basically your in-game currency for everything that you do for the game itself. Doubloons is basically considered extra stuff that you can buy online in terms of in the in-game, or buying stuff for, like, you know, signals or other things for your ships in generally speaking. On top of it, coal and steel is actually really dedicated towards other rewards, like for example, like, you know, different containers or different warships, commanders, and anything that can be bought through that resource, which is pretty handy. Research tokens, on the other hand, is more focused on these sort of things, which is pretty much the Research Bureau. So basically in the Research Bureau, you got some ship upgrades that you can actually acquire for any of these ships. On top of it all, you can actually get some ships that you want to get as a rarity. Like for example, I got myself like the Corvette, the Ohio, the Vampire 2, the Illinois, which is all very good, and you can just, you know, slowly just grind your way through it and just enjoy doing it. Another thing you can do is actually look at one of the feature page and actually look at the signals as well. So when you look at signals, you actually can get, you know, signals at a cheaper rate through the Research Bureau. Now in other things, in terms of the naval community, you also can use like your community tokens for different, you know, camos, signals, as well as, you know, getting super containers every now and then for yourself. Now if you're not 100% sure what does come into the super container, this is what does happen for you. Now if you're very lucky in terms of saving up enough, you know, super containers, you might get any of those rare ships over the period of time, which is actually pretty sweet. I mean, like, if you want to check the full list, this is pretty much, you know, a bit of an overview of what's available right there in the contents of the actual, you know, containers itself. Or if you want to check on the ships, whatever's available to get acquired in the game, you can click on the list just like so, which is pretty nice. Commanders is basically they're showing you the brief overview of what commanders is available for you. These ones here, when in terms of the nations and stuff like that, they are actually do have some like unique abilities and stuff like that that you can have a look, which is all pretty good. Now, if you're not 100% sure on which commander you would like to get in going forward, basically what I would do is that I would just pretty much have a look online about how these commanders will work for different class warships. There are awesome tools out there that you can use, which I'll link down in the video down below for you to check out your own time and leisure and have a look. Now, that's pretty much the gist of the Armory side of things. Now, there's a big question that has come across to a lot of people out there about in regarding to why the hell I have so many in-game currency over the years. Well, okay, fair enough. I mean, like, you can do it various ways, like for example doing it in random battles using these economic boosters, or doing clan battles or rank battles and other different game modes, which is pretty much these types over here. Now, the best, cheapest way of doing it is like with the amount of tech tree warships that you've accumulated over the years, which is pretty phenomenal, as you all know, that you do have the opportunity to look through the list what you have done in the past. So say for example, I'm going to look at the Baltimore, for example, and I'm going to click on equipment. Notice that over the years that as you research a ship, you can actually, you know, research like the previous hull, like the A hull, as well as the modules and other guns and turrets and, you know, different ships along the way. But the biggest question is, can we sell them? The answer is yes. So I'm going to show you how it works. So in the profile of yourself here, you left click on your profile and you look for the word inventory. So basically select your inventory right here. Now I'm going to guide you through it, how this works though. So in the all category, you basically can look through all these different modules and stuff like that and go sell all the way through, and then, you know, prompt you. It's like, for example, if I'm going to sell the Encounter A's hull, for example, if I click on the word sell, it will prompt me and it will ask me the question and then take it from there. So that's actually not a bad thing. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool overall. The other things I'm going to tell you is actually pretty cool with it all is that you can actually look through different modules, you can look at upgrades, you can look at signals for different categories, and you can actually, you know, customize it and so on and so forth. However, when it comes to flags though, you can't sell flags, just letting you know. But that's the biggest thing about it all. And in terms of economic boosters, you can sell them, but I wouldn't sell economic boosters. I would leave that alone. Camouflages, on the other hand, I would probably definitely would consider it as a very important thing for you to consider, because the camos in the game, as much as we love accumulating and collecting things, you can definitely just scroll down whatever it is in this list and pretty much, you know, just say, hey, look, you know, that this has to change in a way that there's no bonuses or anything like that, except it's basically a collector's item to choose these fancy camos and just equip it with your ship. Now, if you got so many on there that you can't, you know, decide what to do with it, and you just need in-game credits for buying a ship or modules or anything like that, you can actually just sell them. So that's pretty much it. Now, if you have trouble, like in terms of in this section here, that you can't, you know, click on camouflages and go, I want to sell it, I can't do it through this way. The other way around it is basically just exit out of it, go to inventory, back again, and go to the old tab, and then do it that way. Now I'm going to scroll down to find it a good option here. So there's a little scroll bar right in the corner of here, on that little black dot. I have to say they might need to tweak that a little bit to make it more appearance for everybody to see. But here's some camos here. So for example, I want to sell one of these black and red and white camos. Click on sell. You can actually accumulate as many as you like on there and then click sell when you're ready. But that is purely up to you. In terms of the whole of modules, you can do the same thing like I did show you before. And basically you just select it, you go click sell, click sell the item, and then you get more in-game currency back to you. That's pretty much how I did over the years in terms of making more credits back my way. And now we're going to dive right into something about visual settings and as well as audio. Now basically in the game itself, you click on a cogwheel and go to settings, and this is your video settings as such. Now if you've got multiple monitors at home like I do, that you want to be able to alt tab, you know, between different screens and stuff like that, I would highly recommend use the full screen windowed version. I wouldn't really worry about using the window version of this as such, because depending on the monitor that you got at home, most monitors do support this sort of thing quite easily. So if you use full screen, the downside of full screen is that even though you use the full screen itself, the whole, you know, size of the monitor and everything, the downside about it all is that when you hit alt tab, the game actually minimizes it and it takes a little, you know, away from the heart and soul of the action. So basically I just use full screen windowed version. Then you can actually choose between whichever monitor that you want to use. So that's actually a pretty decent choice. UI scale, you can actually have a look and, you know, customize it to see what it, you know, suits you. I just, you know, reset it to default, leave it as the default setting. Gamma, on the other hand, is basically improving the brightness or decreasing it if you have problems with your monitor. Vertical synchronization, I usually have this off by default. Now, pretty much when you have it on, you can actually look at the description over here, and that it's actually helps the frame rate for the monitor refresh. So basically I just, you know, have that off and you can do it that way. Now if you want it on, you can actually have a look and see what it does with the triple buffering, so you can turn it on as well. So I just leave it off like that, like so. Color blindness, on the other hand, you click on the setup here and you actually can choose to enable it. So you go ahead and click and choose whichever that suits you, and then basically just apply the change and going forward, which is pretty nice. Graphics, on the other hand, this is really coming down to the heart and soul of what you can do, can't do with the game itself. Now, I will admit that, you know, if you have a high-end system, you pretty much can push it up to right to the maximum detail. Now, obviously, I have customized this machine a little bit because even though I did put it into high, you know, maximum settings and everything, it's pretty good and all well and good, except there's only a couple of minor things that, you know, that needs to change. So basically, that if you notice that you're having a bit of like video lag, latency in the game, or other things that you feel that's something to do with your system, you always can, you know, adjust it to whatever you want to do. And then you just basically click apply to change. I'm just going to click exit out of that and then say no, I don't want to save the changes, and then I'll go back in there again, and then pretty much that you can just return back to the way that the settings are at the moment right now. Now audio, on the other hand, is actually pretty handy. So audio is very good. So pretty much you can change like the master volume of the game to be as high as you want, low as you want, as well as your audio settings as well, from speakers to earphones. Sound quality, you can change it up to ultra or high. I left mine as actually high for now, and I actually minimize the volume of the music as well. You can actually change the style of the music in terms of like the way it's been played. So basically, if you look at the distance here and the description of the information here that you got here, that it's got a lot of, you know, pretty, you know, broad terminology right there, which is pretty cool. So I left it as cinematic because I actually feel like, you know, this game is a bit more of a movie style. and then you're allowed to play third-party licensed music as well too. On the other hand, I mean, like, you can actually change it for the sound effects as well as the ship horns to be enabled or not, which is pretty cool. Voiceovers, this is purely up to you. So basically this is focused on the voiceovers for like the signals of, like, you know, radar detection, hydroacoustics, when a ship gets destroyed, things like that. Captains, generally speaking. So basically when the captains are basically talking to you back in game, basically you can choose it to whatever language you want to be in, and also you can have the modifications for the voiceover to be dealt with whatever is corresponding and suitable for you. Now, for example, that if you have under extended, it's actually pretty good, you know, like it's pretty much that it corresponds with whatever the nation ships, the commanders that's on them as well. So for example, that let's just say you have a Japanese warship with an anime character on there, that's basically cover that. So pretty much I would just use extended. National is basically implying for whatever the nation is, and a standard is basically the standard in like language voiceover for your native language. With that being said though, I mean, like, in terms of the mods as well too, you can get your own voiceover commanders as well, and I basically have downloaded just to show it to you as a bit of a demonstration. Over the years, if you got some collector's items, you can actually get some unique voiceovers, like for example the Transformers event as well, which is pretty cool, and other things along the way as well. Now, you can choose the voice chat to be enabled or disabled. I chose it to be disabled because I don't need it, and that's pretty much it there. HUD, on the other hand, I mean, like, this is a real quick spiel for it. You can actually customize it to whatever, you know, like crosshairs that you want it to be on. I just left mine as the default for now, and I actually just enjoy it. The full interface itself, in terms of the actual like appearance of the ships and all the descriptions and everything, I definitely would just choose the full version of it so you can see everything that's on there. Simple is just basic, very basic. Adaptive is just only has some of it, not all of it. So if you want to see everything on there, just go to full and you get all the full details right there. So there's a bit of a description overview for you. Or if you're holding the left Alt key, that's how it happens to see it and to disable it. Now let me just, that's pretty much like the team lineups. Now sometimes in terms of the first time you load up the game, the team lineups are not showing, so if you want to show it, there you go. Performance, on the other hand, is more to do with your frames per second as well as your server response time. The additional damage counters that basically will appear on the top right hand corner. Battle chat, you do have the option to turn it on and off, which is pretty cool. Team terrain, this is pretty nice. Separate armament, you know, reloading, so you actually do have the option to have it on or off, and also timers for the modifiers as well too, so it's actually pretty cool. Camera view is basically, you know, adjusting the height and also how far zoomed out you want it to be. Mouse controls are pretty standard. Controls for the actual keyboard and everything you got for the ships and as well as the aircraft and everything like that's pretty standard. And also additional settings as well in the game, so you can actually show the time in the port. Also, you do have the option to skip the video that actually is being launched in the game as well too, or also include the display language bar, which is all come in handy. Now, there's one other thing that I will mention though, that is in regarding to the power settings. Now, if you're wondering about the power settings for yourself, now this is a real tricky one for you. Is it really important to have the game on high power performance? Some people swear by it, but if you have the game on and your system at home with balanced recommended settings, you're fine. Power Saver, on the other hand, I wouldn't recommend it. But I would highly recommend to be on balanced or high performance if you want to play World of Warships quite steadily. Now, when it comes to events in the game itself, this is a real tricky one for all of us. Now, in terms of prioritizing events, you probably see like a whole heap of combat missions and you're going like, bloody hell, I don't know where to start. Well, truth to be told, I mean, like, if you got a dockyard event that's going on at the moment, you basically just focus on whatever the missions are available and just continue on as so and grind your way through and get the rewards. Of course, pay attention to which game modes are available and just continue on. Other things, like in terms of like the Grand Voyage or other unique events, that you just pay attention to what is required for that, so you can just left click on it and just like, oh yeah, no worries. Anything that's like new ship lines and stuff like that, you basically just have a look and see what is required to get more ribbons for your lines to be, and actually just continue on as you normally would. Brawls, rank, and clans, they all have their own stuff as well. Combat order and Twitch will just randomly appear as well too, every now and then. Now that's only happens if you have your Twitch account connected to your World of Warships account. So if you don't know how to do it, we can do that on a different video for another time. And pretty much that this comes down to the game modes. Now the game modes are pretty much very unique in its own right. Now all the game modes in the game for the World of Warships side of things, it's pretty much, in summary, you got all these different game mode types over each month. Okay, sometimes that you'll notice that asymmetric battles, blast in the past, and other game modes will come and go throughout the year. So you just take it as it is, whatever has been thrown at you, and just go with it. Now, the biggest thing that you can do about it is actually click on the exclamation mark beside it, and you'll see what's involved with the game mode that you got available for you. Each game mode has actually got some great rewards and stuff like that that you actually feel more appreciative in going forward. Now, if you want to do random battles for good credit returns and as well as rewards is actually happening most likely between tier 5 to tier 7. If you've got tier 8 and above warships all the way through to tier super, if you got economic boosters that's either green or blue or red and you're doing some great incredible amount of damage of 60k plus, you're going to get some great rewards for in-game currency, commander XP, and free XP, generally speaking. However, if you're just still learning the game, I would, or just recently come back, go ahead and play all the way through to from tier 1 to tier 7 and just enjoy the game experience and make it worthwhile. Rank battles, on the other hand, is actually, this is a bit seasonal. It does change from time to time, so pay attention to the description of it all, what is involved, and at the same time that rank battles, whenever it's available, you basically just select the game mode, and then you just be able to change the game mode. Now if you want to see what the current season, what's going on, you actually can click on it and actually see what's happening there, so that's actually pretty cool. Clan battles, on the other hand, if you click on this, it actually talks about when you're part of a clan, you actually can do it with a bunch of people you've met online and actually just have fun and go hearts and souls into it. Now this is a funny thing about it all with clan battles, is that you can get some good rewards, like for gain additional steel or other in-game resources. Don't forget that some of these game modes you can get some coal, some steel, and other rewards in the game as well too, and they come down to this thing here called the combat missions. So basically check out your combat missions, whatever is like available for you on a daily routine, and then basically just enjoy reaping in the rewards and having fun. That's pretty much it. Blast from the past or asymmetric battles and other game mode types, you just basically read the conditions as I was telling you before, and pretty much you just rinse and repeat, just go for the experience. And then if you click on Blast Pass, for example, notice that it will actually have a filtering system of what tiers is available for you. And on top of it all, there's a different certain nations you can use. And then basically whatever is available that you got at your disposal, just select the ship you want to play. Like for example, I'm going to play the Ohio, and then you notice that the battle button is made available for you, and the game type is right there. Now asymmetric battles is the same thing again. I mean, like, you can do that as well. And then if you really want to do something a little bit different, you can actually invite your friends as well too. Now if you got a whole bunch of friends on your list here that you want to, you know, go ahead and invite them away, so basically what I'll do is I'll just find some friends of mine that are online right now. So pretty much what I do is that I see some of my friends are online right now just playing. I just go right click and invite to division if they're online. You also can have the option to add, remove, put people on the blacklist as well, or check people's profile in game as well too, which is all coming in handy. So that's pretty much it. Now if you want to add a player in terms of your contacts, you basically type in, like, you know, for example, I just put a random name out there, and I just go right click, add to group, and then or add to contacts. Either one is fine. You can do the same thing for inviting people to your clan and other things as well. Now that's pretty much it right there. And last but not least, I did have to mention about one thing about the training rooms. Now training rooms is actually very handy, and I'm going to quickly do a quick short summary of this. So when you create a room for yourself, basically make it the room private, and then I'll just go like whatever it is, you know, like whatever you want to be. You can change it to the timer for how long you want that to be, as well as how many players you want. Like for example, if I did say 4x4, and then I look at the zones, the maps and everything like that, keep in mind though that in each of these maps they have different game modes available for you to check out and use. So basically I'm just going to go with a bit of a, you know, show and tell here. You can actually show what is available for you, and that's pretty much, you know, like the gist of it. Now you can, some maps do have the opportunity to have with and without cyclone, so you can have with cyclone, and pretty much I can just go like, yep, okay, cool, and I'm gonna go ahead and just put, you know, a bit of a alternative thing right there. You can choose to enable and spectators or hide the enemy ships as well. So I'm going to definitely do this a little bit different. So pretty much that when you see the training room like this, pretty much this is like, you know, how a tournament map would be we've set up, or training or clan battles, similar to clan battles. Clan battles is just the only minor difference is that you don't have spectator. So pretty much that you have this set up right here. Now if you want to add ships in the game, or players and stuff and like that in this mode in particular, you have to pretty much left click on the add player here, and then you look at the, you know, like in terms of the bot, and then pretty much you just go ahead and make the choice that you want to have. So for example, that let's just say that I want to have what I'm feeling like today. Let's go with UK. You can actually look through a whole heap of, you know, different choices. So there's a daring, so I'm going to click on daring. So I've left click on daring. It takes a bit of a moment here. And then pretty much you can have the AI intelligence to be either low, medium, or high. So choose it high. Do I want it to be moving? Do I want it to be armed? I will say yes for both. I click add, and then basically you got all the ships there added. Now on the other side over here, you can do the same thing as well, add bots there, or pretty much just add different players on there in the group by inviting them in there. So that's pretty much it, the gist of it. Now for the fun part. So pretty much that you know the basics and everything like that is going on. The last one is very much so personal choice and preference. How are we going to play the game and how we're going to do it? Do we play the game with mods or without mods? It's really up to you. Aslain Mods and World of Warships Modstation is available for you. Go check it out. It's actually very fun to use, and I actually have tried them both and they both are pretty good. Now, if you want to have like a particular ship that you want to play with, like for example, I've chosen the Ohio for this video, that there's a couple things that some people have been asking me, do we have to have modules on the ship and stuff like that? In all seriousness though, by default, having modules on the ship is actually very much so that does come in handy. So sometimes you can actually mount the modules by default here. So pretty much you just go like, yep, okay, I'm going to choose it and go with it. Now here's an example of the Archangellus. Pretty much if I just click on mount recommended on this side of things, it basically does prompt me and ask me this question. You just click yes, and then basically all the modules have been added right there for you. So that's actually pretty nice overall. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to definitely show you a couple of things that is it worth it in terms of signals or not. Now for example, with the signals, like sometimes you can just mount them by all of them in one hit, and you can just click mount and recommended, and then basically that's what it's there for you. Now if you don't like certain things to be added on there and you want to customize it, left click on it and then just select whatever you want. Like, for example, I want more health, or I want the ramming flag, or other things like that. At the end of the day, it depends on what is available for you. This signal means here means that the specific warship type you got there, it means it's not available. Now with the economic boosters as such, I mean, like, if you're just starting off in the game, just starting over, just getting used to it with everything again, or from square one, you do have the option to actually just say, yep, okay, I'm just going to go with basic grade credits for this one here. Or if you feel pretty confident, just go with move yourself up, down the ladder, and you actually get more and more greater rewards in long term. Now, for example, that if you don't have many economic boosters to begin with, I mean, like, you can just basically click the X on the top right hand corner of each one and pretty much just use the basic standards that are made available for you. However, on the left hand side of it over here is a very cool feature that it's called a bonus package. Now, if you do have a bonus package, obviously the rewards, by default will be a lot higher. But if you don't have a bonus package, it'll be whatever is default, and you can actually buy it with your in-game doubloon currency and use it that way. And the last thing I can say is that pretty much just enjoy the game. That's pretty much it. But yep, that's pretty much it, folks, for this tutorial today, and a bit of a quick overview. But hope you all enjoyed it, and I am glad to be here with you all. But yeah, if you have any questions or any feedback or anything that you want to know in going forward, you're more than welcome to check us out. But until then, stay safe and take care, folks, and have a wonderful time in the World of Warships community, and I hope to see you in the near future. Until then, action stations.